Welcome back to Outnumbered. A federal judge in Texas is hitting the pause button on the president's executive action on immigration. The first part of the order, which could spare millions of illegal immigrants from deportation, was set to take effect tomorrow. But the judge's temporary injunction now gives 26 states the time to pursue a lawsuit to permanently stop the orders. The White House says the president's actions are well within his legal authority, and the Justice Department is vowing to appeal the ruling. So what should they do here? I mean, the states, I don't want to see John Boehner anywhere near this. I think the states are the ones who have the right to say whether or not they can handle a possible influx of people from
I absolutely agree with you.
And Canada as well.
No, I do. And you know I agree with you. I don't think that this is something that Congress should take up. I think the courts should handle this, and that's where Republicans have their best chance of stopping President Obama. And this is an example of it.
Yep.
So then the question is, Kennedy, if the courts find that this is in violation with the U.S. Constitution, which is more of just, I guess, a set of guidelines for the president, if the president defies it, then are we on the precipice of a constitutional crisis? And I would say so. And then the question is, what do we do then if he defies the courts? And I think that's really the story here.
All right, Rachel, I want to talk to you about this because, you know, this is how you spend your life's work, trying to find a balance on immigration, because obviously immigration and immigrants are what made this country great.
I am the granddaughter of immigrants. Listen, here's the deal. There really was a bipartisan will to deal with immigration reform in this new Congress. And that is why he went ahead and did the executive order to sort of get in front of that before it could actually happen in the House. Here's what's frustrating to me. All of you guys have seen these loopholes in the tax code that are permitting undocumented people to perhaps take 3 years worth of back taxes,
yep.
Things in the voting laws that allow for fraud. This is the president once again taking immigration reform that has bipartisan support,
yeah.
And making it really divisive. Because here's what it does, and this really makes me mad as a Latina. Hispanics come here to work, but the impression he is leaving by having these loopholes, they didn't come here because they want free taxes from or free back taxes from the IRS, or they want to vote fraudulently, but that certainly is the impression that it's leaving. And it's creating more racial division,
yeah.
and I think it's setting back what I think is bipartisan will to do something about immigration. I think it's just, we talk about it psychologically, this is what he does. He divides.
And it can cast immigrants certainly in an
awful
unfair, awful
yeah.
light. I agree with you. It's incredibly divisive. How do we fix it?
How do we fix it? Well,
you look at the system, what do you do?
I know I'm supposed to have answers generally, but I have a question. Is there precedent, and what are the precedents for the president pardoning millions of people en masse?
Yeah.
Because otherwise we'd have to leave it to the courts. Here's this person. This person came here illegally. We have witnesses to attest to his good character. Will you issue a pardon in this case, right, from the governor? Or should we somehow, abdicate the charges against this individual? So you charge them, and then you decide, should there be no sentence? But I don't know. What is the precedent? Has there been a time before when the president said, of millions of people,
yeah.
you are pardoned?
Yeah,
to answer that question,
in a sense, yes, but under George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan. I mean, they had kind of similar, they were amendments to congressional amnesty that allowed for various...
But the scope of this is so much larger than that. And that's that, if you talk to people like Judge Napolitano and others, they say it's the scope of what President Obama is doing.
4 million people new Social Security numbers, and he never, and this was testified in Congress last week, he never called the IRS to ask what would be the tax implications of getting 4 million new people.
If he had emailed, then I'm sure that email would have gotten lost.
Well, this is what the judge is saying. 3 points here. The president exceeded his authority, so he's stopping. He's saying this needs to be stopped. The judge is saying this would be irreversible, so we need to stop it now before it happens. And the judge is saying the president was forcing states to spend money that they didn't have.
Yeah.
Well, and again, if you take a lens and you say things that are defined as America are inherently abhorrent to the president, then, of course, anybody who is a citizen, it's not a big deal. It's just to be given out, right? Because that, in and of itself, is in some way deeply insulting to him.
Yeah.
Like
I also think he abhors the Constitution, and so I don't want to give the White House any ideas, but why don't they just repeal the law on the books that makes it a crime to come here illegally? I mean, if they really don't think that it's a crime and they don't want to hold anyone accountable, then just Why don't they just scratch through the law? Because that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't they give out more visas so people who, the majority of people who want to come here and work are able to do that?
Yes.
And that's what people are talking about when they're talking about fixing a broken system and allowing people to come in and participate.
And that was another area of
10 years or 20
bipartisan,
years.
that was another great area of bipartisan consensus.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of Hispanics don't even want citizenship. They just want to be able to cross the border back and forth. He made citizenship part of the deal, and there was where
And
the
it
road
was a slap in the face to those people who
And
did it the
we will
right
have
way.
a celebratory margarita on all of these fronts because we have solved a great crisis. President Obama, is he overrated? What? That's word from some of the nation's top presidential scholars who've just released their survey of America's most influential leaders, where they rank the president and whether they are right. And Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker quickly becoming the one to watch among potential GOP White House hopefuls. And that's led one mainstream magazine to track down his high school science teacher for the real story, information on his past, a glimpse into his soul. A similar thing happened to Jeb Bush, as you know. Now, is that fair, or has the media just taken it way too far? We will debate in moments.